Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run through the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days as we are heading towards heatwave conditions to start the next working week. Temperatures across much of England and Wales will be into the high 20s, with some areas likely to get above 30 degrees, and from the looks of some of the runs today, wouldn't be surprised if some areas got significantly above 30 degrees, maybe 32, 33 or even slightly higher is possible. Now this is because we're seeing high pressure building up from Europe with very hot air just sat to our south, and it is drawing it in for most of next week. We're able to have a look at that in detail, as said on the latest UKV, and then a look at the longer range, looking at the longer term prospects of this heat from the GFS, GM, ECWF and the ensembles. As if you do enjoy heat, unfortunately it doesn't look like it's going to last much longer than next week, but still, nonetheless, it still looks pretty warm and fairly dry, at least initially, to start August. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe. Remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now, if we do start on the live radar, we're kind of in a transition day today, where we're going from below average temperatures, or at least below average upper air temperatures over the past couple of days, to above average temperatures by Sunday. And that means that today, Saturday, it is transitioning. We've still got a few showers around, but nothing too crazy. And it is warm, but nothing insane. Temperatures around the low 20s once again. I'm recording this around lunchtime, and you see it's not too bad. A few of those streaky showers in the north and the west, some of them heavy and thundery, especially across northern England towards the Scottish borders, but for most it's another fairly decent summery day. You can still see though across Europe, we've got the Olympics down in Paris. It's still pretty miserable, pretty typical here that the only real major rain across much of Europe is exactly where we've got the biggest sporting event taking place. Just how the weather plays out, of course. Lots of dry conditions, of course. We've got rain there. Now, if you look at the temperatures, said around lunchtime, you see temperatures already starting to rise across much of England and Wales. I mean, this is the theme we're starting to see. Again, it's a pretty typical summer pattern, and it's going to be exemplified next week, where we've basically got the hottest conditions in the south and the east, nearest to the heat across the continent. And you can see to the south of that rain across France, it is very hot around the Mediterranean, Spain, Portugal and Italy, and this is all going to get drawn northwards in the next couple of days and landing on our shores by Monday and Tuesday. Now, if you have a look at the latest UKV, if we start on the precipitation, we would see not much is actually going on. We've got a few showers around today. This is probably the most active day we're going to see throughout the next 5 days. You see, as we head into Sunday, very dry. You can whiz through that quite quickly. The same could be said for Monday. Yes, a little bit of a weaker weather front in the north and west. That's showing you where the dividing line is, where the high pressure is pushing in. You can see the weather front disintegrates, and that's because it runs into the higher pressure. You see for Tuesday, again, minimal showers. Wednesday, perhaps a few thunderstorms developing in the southeast. We've seen that on the last couple of videos. Again, wouldn't look at that in too much detail at this stage because it is choppy and changing depending on each run, and of course it is convective, therefore it has got high chances of either not happening, moving position, or being complete different intensity. So we'll have to wait and see. Probably Monday, Tuesday we'll have a much better idea about the risk of thunderstorms, but they are there for Wednesday and are likely to cool things down in that region, as we'll see from the 2-meter temperatures in a minute if that does occur. And then into Thursday, 1st day of August, another very pleasant day, at least at the start during the morning, but again, a few thunderstorms around. Now, the big thing that we have seen upgraded since the last video that we only put out last night is the upper air temperatures. You can see, as I said, it's a transition day today. We're starting the day slightly below average in terms of the upper air temperatures, and we're finishing it around average, heading towards above average through Sunday. You start to see those upper air temperatures really start to climb as we head into Monday, into the low to mid teens by the afternoon, higher teens just towards the channel by Tuesday, and they do push in for a time through Wednesday. That's where we could see temperatures into the mid 30s potentially. But of course, it coincides with more instability and those thunderstorms. We've got a bit of an issue there. If we do see these very hot air masses and no thunderstorms, could see 35 degrees. If we do see these very hot upper air temperatures and do see thunderstorms, then we're unlikely to reach those hot temperatures, maybe further northwards. But again, we do get outside of the very hot upper air temperatures there. And we do see temperatures 30 degrees further northwards, but cooler further south and eastwards, but very muggy and very thundery. That's what we're seeing on the latest UKV, but as I said, choppy and changing on every run. The big thing we need to concentrate at this time frame is the upper air temperatures and the pressure pattern, which at the moment is higher pressure, so generally dry conditions and a very hot air mass. And that lingers all the way through to Thursday, where it does moderate itself down a little bit, but after numerous days of hot conditions, these upper air temperatures are well hot enough to give us temperatures in excess of 30 degrees. Now, if you look at the max temperatures, you can see through this afternoon, low 20s, widely or high teens. Again, pleasant, summery day, nothing amazing, nothing poor. As we head into Sunday, temperatures climb out slightly higher, 24, 25 degrees, starting to head above average. And then as we head into Monday, temperatures rising even further by the afternoon, temperatures getting up towards the high 20s, 26, 27, 28, couldn't even rule out a 29. And then by Tuesday, temperatures rising towards 30 degrees quite widely in southern and eastern areas. Again, because we are still a couple of days away, the UKV can underdo those temperatures slightly, especially the top temperature. It normally gets the sort of widespread temperature range correct, but that top temperature could be higher than 31. There could get to 32, 33. You can see just on the bottom right of the screen that Northern France is seeing 33, 34, probably 35. So we are on the cusp of those very hot conditions, but just not quite pulling them in. And then as we head into Wednesday, look what happens to the temperatures in the south and east. It's much cooler. Along the Midlands, Northern England, Wales, 31 to 33. And the reason for that is the thunderstorms. If we see those thunderstorms don't take off, that range of 31 to 33 will be widespread across England. Whereas here, it's mainly focused to the areas west and north of those thunderstorms. So this is why if we see that cloud and thunderstorms, it could change those temperatures drastically. But the volatility of the precipitation charts at this time frame, especially with convection taking place, is so high that there's really no point in looking at this in too much detail, other than the fact that saying Wednesday could be even hotter. But as I said, it depends on the rain and the thunderstorms. Thursday, likely to be equally as hot. Maybe not getting hotter, but still low 30s. And again, look at those overnight temperatures, hardly getting much below 20 degrees in some areas. So would be pretty oppressive indeed. Now, if we do go over to the longer range now and have a look at the latest GFS, you'll be able to see the very hot pattern starting to set up with those southerly winds, higher pressure across much of Europe, and you see the very hot air mass pushing in. You see much of the hot air actually does miss us, but we do just skim the far northern tip of the very hot air in southern and eastern England, and that is why that we could see those temperatures rise significantly. As I said, still little bits to play with, but the overall pattern is fairly locked in now. You can see if we look on the zoomed in range at the very hot air eventually gets shoved away by around Friday or Saturday by fresher westerly winds. There could be a bit of a thundery breakdown with that. We'll have to keep a close eye, but it does generally look like it will end by next weekend. So as I said at the start of the video, if you don't enjoy the very hot conditions, fortunately cooler air is already forecasted to come in after next working week. Beyond that, we could still maintain some southerly winds at times as low pressure sits out to our west, but actually this GFS run is pretty unsettled, so actually would go quite a bit more rainy and thundery as we head into early August. So that's not positive if you're looking for something drier and hotter. So we'll have to wait and see. Still a lot of volatility in those longer range charts, but again, very hot conditions coming over the next week or so, and then it does look like it will cool down a bit and turn wetter once again. If you look at the latest GM, again, very similar. High pressure building in with southerly winds turning very hot indeed, and then eventually moderating by the end of the week, by Friday into Saturday. Very similar time frames. That's why I'm pretty confident in that, going slightly fresher and more unsettled. You can see here though more warmer wedges of air, which means that yes, it would probably be unsettled because of the lower pressure, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily really cold. It could still be fairly warm and thundery, as we do see those big warmer air masses getting wafted up from the south. Finally, compared to the latest ECMWF, again looking at those upper air temperatures, very hot conditions coming in over the next few days, lasting all the way to late next week, actually lasting all the way into the weekend, interestingly. So yes, it does break it down, but holds on for another day or two for eventually low pressure and fresher conditions do push in from the west. We do finish by looking at the latest ensembles. The 6 a.m. run is just coming out on the GFS, but you can see the big spike at the moment. You can see why I'm saying today is a transition day, slightly below average in the morning. By the evening into Sunday, it is above average. And you can see going very hot through Monday to Wednesday, still remaining very warm towards the latter part of the week. And of course, with the heat building at the surface, even the upper air temperatures cooling down slightly, it won't likely make much of a hit to the surface temperatures until we see an actual weather front moving through with cloud and rain to cool those surface temperatures down. You can see longer range generally around average and higher precipitation, so that's not great, but as I said, it still could change. Lots of volatility with the models here. Again, this spike of heat we're seeing next week hasn't come out of nowhere. We have seen runs showing it, but it's only really had high confidence in it in the last day or two. So same thing could happen into early August. We'll have to wait and see. If you look at the 2 meter temperatures, you can see generally widely into the mid to high 20s. Again, it won't pick up on the absolute top temperatures, as these are taking observations, predictions at 6 a.m, 12 and 6 p.m. So it's not picking up the peak of the day around 2, 3, 4 p.m. So that's why those top temperatures don't get into the 30s here, but it would do in reality. And finally, if we just look at the ECMWF ensembles, again, big spike of heat. Majority of runs mid to high teens, and then slowly dropping off later next week. But you can see majority of runs do keep us still above average all the way into the first few days of August, but precipitation is higher from around Wednesday, Thursday next week. So yes, we're concentrating the heat right now, but I do think we could pivot to talking more about thunderstorms in the next couple of days. From the looks of these ensemble charts, they look fairly active towards the latter part of next working week. Just too far away for us to look with any confidence or detail because of the volatility in the shorter range ones when we're sort of forecasting convective patterns like this. We'll have to wait and see exactly how it does play out, but for the time being, the headline is that it can turn very hot next week. Temperatures are likely to reach heat wave levels for most people across England and Wales, maybe further northwards as well. Again, a little bit more uncertain there because of the positioning of the higher pressure. For eventually, we could see thunderstorms piling in from the south and the west by the end of the week. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.